If your brain feels exhausted before the day has even properly started, then hopefully this video might help explain why. See, I don't think most women running businesses are struggling because they're lazy or disorganized. I think they're drowning in invisible decisions all day long. And the scary part is, most of those decisions don't even look important individually. But together, well, they're quietly draining your entire nervous system. Now, I think one of the most underestimated forms of exhaustion in modern business is decision fatigue. Not hugely dramatic, life changing decisions, the tiny ones, the constant ones, the invisible ones, the sort of decisions that individually look completely harmless, but collectively create this relentless cognitive load that women are carrying from morning until night. And honestly, I don't think people fully realize how much energy this consumes. Because when people talk about burnout online, they tend to talk about overwork, long hours, stress, pressure. And yes, absolutely, those things matter. But I actually think a huge amount of modern exhaustion comes from something quieter. Too many open loops, too many mental tabs, too many tiny operational decisions being carried simultaneously all day long. And I think this in particular affects women because women are very often not just managing businesses, they're managing entire ecosystems, businesses, children, households, appointments, schedules, emotional labour, caring responsibilities, school admin, meals, shopping, planning, remembering. And the exhausting part is that much of this work is invisible. Nobody sees it, nobody applauds it, but your nervous system absolutely feels it. Now, I noticed this really clearly yesterday after my accidental quick trip to the garden centre, which, for the record, was absolutely not quick. I went in for some sweet corn plants. That was the mission. In and out, get it done. And yet somehow I emerged looking like I'd made a serious commitment to some form of rural self-sufficiency. And while I was unpacking everything afterwards, I caught myself mentally tracking about 47 other things simultaneously. Where would the trays go? Whether the greenhouse needed reorganising, whether I'd remembered compost, what needed watering, what time am I supposed to be picking the kids up? Were there enough eggs left for dinner? What I still hadn't done in the office, who I hadn't replied to, whether I'd sent an email, and whether the horses needed fly spray. And suddenly, I was struck with the thought this is what most women's brains sound like constantly. Not silence, not focus, it's operational traffic all day long. And then we sit down at a laptop and wonder why visibility feels difficult. Of course, it's going to feel difficult. Your brain is already processing an extraordinary amount before you even begin creating content. And I think this is where the online business space sometimes loses touch with reality. Because advice often gets delivered as though women are operating in a completely empty environment. Just batch your content. Just stay consistent. Just show up every day. It's easy. But just becomes very complicated when your nervous system is already overloaded with invisible operational management. And honestly, well, I think many women that I have come across are so used to functioning this way that they don't even realize how exhausted they are anymore because it's become normal for them. The constant background tension is normalized, mental clutter, normalized. Cognitive fragmentation becomes normal until eventually women start believing, I'm just bad at focus. I must be lazy. I'm inconsistent. It's my fault. When actually they're carrying an operational burden that would overwhelm most people. And this is exactly why I believe calm systems matter so much. Not because systems are exciting, mine aren't. Honestly, not glamorous at all, but they reduce decision load. And reducing decision load changes everything because every repetitive decision your business continues demanding from you is using cognitive energy. Every repeated task, repeated reminder, repeated process, repeated follow up, manual action is quietly draining your personal bandwidth. And the dangerous thing is that women often absorb this as a personal failure instead of a system problem. But overwhelm is very often a system problem, not a personal character flaw. And this is one of the reasons I've become so interested in intelligent AI support. Not because I want my business to become robotic, but because I think women deserve operational relief. And I think women deserve support structure that protects their attention and energy. Because attention, well, it's one of the most valuable resources we actually have. And I think modern businesses are quietly destroying it. There's this constant expectation now to always be available, always connected, always producing, always responding. And honestly, I think many women's nervous system never fully switches off anymore, which is why moments of calm, well, they feel so emotional when they do actually happen. You sit outside for 10 minutes and realize, oh, I can actually hear myself think. And I didn't think that should be so rare. I think businesses should support clarity, not destroy it. Now, I've talked a little bit recently about the fact that I'm also a beekeeper. And one of the things I love most about beekeeping is that bees are extraordinary system builders. Everything has structure, rhythm, role allocation, operational efficiency, not in a cold corporate way, but in a sustainable ecosystem way. The hive functions because pressure is distributed intelligently. And honestly, I think businesses need more of that thought process and energy, especially women-led businesses, because too many women they're currently acting as a CEO, administrator, customer services, operations manager, marketing department, strategist, emotional support system, household manager, all simultaneously. And that is not sustainable. Nobody would ever apply for that job if it were being advertised. And it's certainly not sustainable for longer term visibility, because visibility requires mental space, creativity requires mental space, thinking requires mental space. And when every ounce of your attention is being consumed by invisible operational maintenance, content becomes incredibly hard to sustain, not because you're incapable, but because your brain is overloaded. And honestly, I think this is why calmer systems are going to become increasingly important over the next few years. Not bigger systems, not louder systems, calm ones. Systems that quietly remove the friction. Systems that reduce repetitive decisions, systems that create breathing room. Because I think the businesses that survive long term are not necessarily going to be the loudest. I think they're going to be the most sustainable. The ones where the owner can still think clearly, still live properly, still function as a regular human being. And honestly, that's my entire philosophy around AI and automation now. It's not how do we force more productivity from exhausted women, but how do we remove enough operational pressure that women can finally breathe again? And that feels like a much more important conversation. Now, if any of what I've said has resonated with you, then the next video in this series goes even deeper into why modern business culture is creating a nervous system exhaustion for women in particular, and why I think desperately we need a calmer way of building our businesses right now. Now, if you would like some support building calmer operational systems into your own business, then I've linked the Calm AI Quick Start Guide somewhere below this video, or you'll find the link in my bio. But please just be kind to yourself, hey?